Okay. As you know, I have another website, and the reason I have another website is because I do a shed load of work for it. And I did get a bitchy comment from somebody the other week saying, "Why don't you give it all away in Med to Pro?" And the gentleman in question had been a lifetime member for 15 years. So I explained that because I put a lot of work into this. And then I also explained that I actually give loads of this information away free. And it's just a case of people don't seem to want to take advantage of it if it's not spoon fed, which is very frustrating for me. But hey ho. And on that basis, this is the three most recent posts in the investing site. And this was, if you recall, 2 weeks ago in the live training session, I showed you this is a new portfolio I created for a friend of mine, Andy. I shared with you the portfolio, and at the time it was up 25% 2 weeks ago. Yesterday it was actually up 50%. It's now back down to 45%. That's in 11 weeks. And again, if you were in a hedge fund, you might not achieve that in 10 years. And I gave it and I shared it with you last week. I also showed you, 2 weeks ago, I also showed you the high yield stocks that I have been dabbling with. And I shared that I had invested $10,000 initially and then added to that another 2,500. And I have, as you will see on the screen in front of you, I've now upped that. So I have now invested $60,000 in a live account for the high yield interest. And I have rebalanced the portfolio. And last week I did say that I had 12 and I was going to rebalance. It turned out when I went to look, I'd actually bought 18 and I got rid of the dogs. Well, even without getting rid of the bad ones, I was on target for 50% yield for this current year. Without those dogs, it would have been 65%. And I have now rebalanced. I think I've got 10 in there now. And I am on target for 80% plus return, which means on the 60,000 I have invested, if it goes to plan, should return me $48,000 of income in a year. And I mentioned this 2 weeks ago and said under conventional investing, you are taught, you are brainwashed into thinking by Wall Street and by the financial advisors, just put it into divvy stocks and blue chips and be happy with the 3%. So to get a similar amount of income to this, you would need nearly $2 million in your pension or in your fund. So again, you need to be thinking about opening your mind and trying and exploring different possibilities and then taking advantage of them. Because there's no point sitting there doing the analysis and watching and think, oh, that's interesting. And then watching a few weeks later, because I also showed you the other day, I showed you what I was looking at with crypto. I showed exactly what I was going to do using M2. And some of the crypto that I showed you from last week is up 50%. And average is probably 50% as well from 2 weeks ago. So at the end of the day, what we are trying to do here is to teach you how to do this for yourself. But if you do want an element of spoon feeding and you want more, then you have to think about joining this. I also talked in there about crypto gains. So to find previous recordings, there is a section up here, and you've got all the previous live training sessions. Where's it gone? There we go. And then also, if you scroll down this page and go to my second blog, which is the investing corner, and if you click on read more, it takes you to here. One of the things I shared with you about 8 weeks ago, I said to you there is a perfect flag pattern on Ethereum, and I predicted, this was at the end of May, that Bitcoin to go to 117,000 and Ethereum to 3,450 because of the aforementioned flag pattern. And as you recall, I shared this again last week. This was the flag pattern. And the theory goes, I explain, you either take this pole here, that suggested a $1,000 move on Ethereum, or if you took the weekly low, that suggested a $14,000 move, $1,400 move. And what's it done? It's done exactly what the plan said. And I shared it with you 6 or 7 weeks ago. And on that basis, you would have doubled your money up by 50-60% at least anyway. And then equally, I'd shared why I was showing this because Bitcoin does it all the time. I noticed in the last week, Bitcoin might be doing it again. And if this is to work out, then the theory will go that Bitcoin is due to go another 13,000. So from there, that would take us up to around 130. The other thing I mentioned 2 weeks ago is I said that if Bitcoin was to set off, I would expect it to struggle at 120. What's it done? It stopped to the pip at 120 and rejected there for a number of days. And again, this is not rocket science. This is logic. This is, think about people who've bought down here and down here, down here, and people who've hung on forever. It's a big whole number. It's a psychological level. And at the moment, we are in a consolidation phase. It's quite possible this will come back down and retest the 111, 112, which for me would be a buying opportunity. Equally, this could be a clue. We're on for a 13,000 move there as well. And then the session last week, going back to here, if you scroll across one and click on Trump, chaos continues, where to focus. And this is the point. And I explained again this a fortnight ago. If I see that crypto is picking up and there's loads going on there, then that's where I'm going to focus. Yes, I take Forex trades. I took a really good gold trade and I shared explicitly the entry, the stop and the target on that one with you like 2 weeks ago as well. So here, I was talking about at the start, people, the thing that frustrates me is people don't watch these stuff. They don't read. Even people that pay me privately, I come to a meeting. I say, "Do you watch that?" Oh, I'm at time. Okay, but this was the one. This was more detail about these ETFs. I explained particularly fundamentally why I felt that Bitcoin was going to go on a bigger run and is becoming more mainstream. And I also explained why I had moved some of my investment from MicroStrategy into Coinbase. And I showed you how it had gone up 35% the week after. And so again, you can have a look in here. And then I was talking about how the big banks are coming in. And this is the big thing. The banks are coming in, the stable coins. I showed you how that affected the US T-bill market, which is partly a big part of why Trump's sort of pushing for it. And then also we were looking at Warren Buffett. Well, that's a bit concerning. He sold 39% of his stake in Bank of America. And I also showed you that Berkshire Hathaway had dropped to a significant level. And we can have a quick look at that in a minute. Explain all about the increased demand and then the yield max high yield ETFs. There's the notes underneath it. So if you want to look at the AI notes, they are all there as well. And I've made some notes as to where you can, to save you, not going to do too much. If you go to 10 minutes in, well, that was the movie Too Big to Fail, which you should all watch if you want to understand how the big banks in America and the government are all joined at the hip. This is a Japanese hotel group that explained that they intend to buy, I can't remember now, is it 200,000 Bitcoin before the end of next year? So they've already just said to you, we're going to buy up 1% of Bitcoin. And on top of all the other money that's coming in, clearly that was likely to force the price up. And then at 19 and a half minutes in, I showed you about yield max. And where's it gone? Here we go. So this is yield max. And again, there were links in the article showing, explaining all of this and how it pays out interest every week and how it works. 28 minutes, I explained the gold trade. And you will find the recording of the gold trade that I took after this meeting. And you will find that here. Where does it go? There we go. I will be a buyer of gold at 3,300, either as a metal or a trade. So again, have a look and you will see that in my blog, there is the recording I took based on the analysis that I'd already shared with you. Then 29 minutes into the video, so another minute or so, all about Bitcoin again, and tech from a tech. And what I'm saying here is it was trying desperately to break through. And I said that the US government want this to succeed. And I also explained that that set off, I felt it would stop at 120,000, which we've just discussed. Then 29.50, we looked at the flag pattern on Solana. So where's that one gone? And I went through all of this the other day. I showed you the breakpoints, potential. And here I'm explaining that a lot of them were at a trend line and intersection of EMAs. Again, it's M2, but it's an environment that I have fundamentally wanted to buy. So those are in there. And then what else did we have? Berkshire Hathaway, and then, oh, Andy. So this was Andy's portfolio I shared with you. And This, at the time, this was an investment of 20,000. It's in a UK tax wrapper called an ISA. And at the time, the value of the account was at 25.54. And I shared with you what I had bought and why. And as of today, it is now up at 20, it was at 29 something yesterday. Where have I put my screenshot? Today, it's at 28,800. So I think that's 45%. I did rebalance a few things the other day, but in general, it's the same as what I bought the other day. And what's really nice at the minute, there's not a red one amongst them. Then we go back into here. And what I also summarized at the end of all of this, that we are surrounded by opportunities all the time. And with Andy, he'd missed the rebound that I'd managed to catch with my investing group and with you lot after the Trump blink. But there are opportunities around you all the time, but you have to take action. So Tiennis on Sunday has posted his analysis. Oh, this is an interesting one as well. This is Financial Times today. As expected, chaos in the UK and more debt because the woman in charge is an idiot. JP Morgan explores lending against clients' crypto holdings. I spoke about this last week. I told you about the way that the synergy between fiat and banks is now merging together with crypto and the benefits that that's bringing. But on top of that, at the moment, you can via DeFi, and I shared with you a bank in Brazil, in Gibraltar, that potentially looked good, but then when you read the reviews was not. But this is JP Morgan. So let's say you own a Bitcoin and you want to borrow some money, you stake your Bitcoin and they are looking, it may be next year, and it's an initial talk at the moment, but you would be able to borrow against your Bitcoin without having to sell it. Because those of us who've been in it for a long while, wary about selling. I do think that Bitcoin is quite capable of going to 500,000, even 1,000,000 in the next 4 or 5 years. But I don't want to, on the other hand, watch it come all the way back down again. So one way is that you can borrow against it and still then enjoy the gains if it goes up, or suffer the drop if it doesn't. If it starts to go down, you may have to put more money in or repay the loan. But anyway, it's another signal that this is all going to go mainstream. I also shared this with you last week, explaining about the stable coins. It's a long read, but it's a very good read, and it's explaining why, I was saying earlier, why Trump wants the crypto world, other than the fact that a lot of people are suspicious his family are making a fortune out of it, but it is actually beneficial for the dollar as well. And then this is Yield Max, which I've shared with you. At the moment, NVIDIA is paying out distribution rate of 79% per annum it works out at. And if you click on news on here, you can go through and see what they were paying. So the recent payments on the July the 18th, for example, LFGY 62% year on year, ULTY, I do have some of that. And then the one, even if you're in Europe and you can't buy anything else at the moment, that is paying you out anywhere, that's YMAX, anywhere between 39 and 82. I found that this pays about 50% so far in the previous 4 months. A lot of people hold a lot of MicroStrategy because historically it was paying out a lot, but it's not paying out as much at the minute. But I say I have rebalanced all of that. So now what we're going to look at, well, I've just shown you with Bitcoin that potentially we're in another flag pattern, so we could be ready to go. I went through all of this with you last week. This was where I'd sold MicroStrategy and converted it into Coinbase, so it's now up 65% in 4 weeks. I bought the other day, I did sell a bit more MicroStrategy because I was starting to get really concerned here. If you remember, this was the previous high, and it's best call I think I've ever done in my life. I called the top on it last time and explained that I felt that the short sellers would come in, and I'm getting twitchy now as well. So I sold another 25% of my balance of MicroStrategy, and I put that into Riot, which is a Bitcoin miner. But all these Bitcoin miners now are also starting to diversify. And I think Riot's one of these with the AI data center as well. But it is a break of a trend line in a bull market. So I'm okay with that. This is Wolf, similarly added to that. Now, crypto, these are the ones I showed you the other week. So on the 10th, I sent out a telegram to my investing group. I told you this lot the week before when it was here. I said, look, you look for the break of the trend line, you look for the break of the EMAs. Cardano is up 27% in 10 days. Link, I even bought some of this the other day. I haven't added to this for ages. Is up 23%. Litecoin, Murphy's Law. I didn't buy any more of this because I was into everything else. 20%. XRP has actually smashed through the all-time high and is up 45%. This was the previous all-time high. HBAR, the one that went up 500% when Trump got elected, that I called perfectly here. Well, HBAR, I said I was buying previously down here. This is more aggressive. This is when everybody else is not paying attention. But I did send a telegram the other day, and that's up 40%. And finally, XLM, again, I was buying in here, but this was the same the other day, is 45%. So if you've missed it all and you don't know what you're going to do next, not financial advice, these are the ones that you can use in this trading program. Just let me turn my phone off because Murphy's Law has suddenly gone nuts. So I shared with you the other week that Marcel and I were dabbling with a funded crypto account. And what did Marcel say? Marcel said he blew the first one up. So I bought a new one. I'm learning options trades for Thomas. Okay. You and I need to get together again the next few days, Marcel. And Denver here from Johannesburg struggled a bit getting in my laptop and Wi-Fi. I decided to test my patience. Glad to be finally here, though. Former corporate guy, now full-time trader. Hungry to grow up and level up with the crew. You and I have a call in the morning, Denver, so let's get you there. Right. So I showed you last time. We look for a standard M2 breakout. We look for the break of the trend line. We look for the break of the EMAs in a bull market. And we look for, it has to have the potential to make at least 35% in a relatively short space of time. Otherwise, I don't buy it. So I've just gone through the ones that have already worked. Let's look at some. Actually, this, I thought this was one in this funded thing, and then I couldn't find it yesterday. This is trying at the moment. So this is where Cardano and all those I've just shown you were at 2 weeks ago. So I have an alarm set just above this one. But if you look at any of these, this was BNB. I didn't take it because at the end of the day, we've all of us got limits on time and money. But also, I wouldn't have taken it because I must have the rule. I must be able to make 35%. Bonk. Somebody's now applied for an ETF for Bonk. And so apparently now it may actually have a real world value. I did buy some in here initially, and then I bought again down here. So I'm cost averaged in around here. This was an M2 break. I didn't buy any more. I don't think I bought any more. That was up 70% the other day. And then my best percentage one, the best percentage growth is Penguin, the Pudgy Penguin. And this one, I bought this, a bit of a joke in May. I think my missus and I only put $350 or €350 in it. So that one, percentage-wise, is up 225% in 2 months. And apparently somebody's applied for an ETF for that as well. Now, on a serious note, when you get 225% in profit, at the very least, you should take your stake out. And I had an alarm set here to watch for previous major support and resistance. So I believe we took our stake out there. So we took our stake out at 130% plus some profit. The profit then I will use to put into something else. The balance now that's left is free. So if this does suddenly become an ETF and it goes to the moon, then we could make a lot of money out of it. And if it comes back and it turns back round again, it doesn't matter because it's bought and paid for, which is what we did the first time. And that's why we held Cardano and Bitcoin and Ethereum and everything through the slump, because everything we held was bought and paid for. I've shown you this many times before, but then Cardano last year, I was buying anywhere around 30 cents because I believe in this project. So there is an element of conviction. But any of these, have a look. Doge did a perfect M2 break the other day. Doge, you will be familiar with, is up 30%. DOT at the moment. Now, this is one that it's a fake for me until the EMAs break. So I wouldn't buy this one personally at the moment because, yes, we broke the trend line. Now we're stuck at the 200. which is why I use these EMAs all the time. And then there's a 55 above it. So for me, there's enough to choose without having to go for something like that. So anything that's like that at the moment, I would leave. And this, I don't even know what this is. I think probably for a trend line, probably go in here. Oops, wrong thing. Trend line done. But that I wouldn't touch either because it's then got to break through the 200 EMA. So that's no trade for me. Let's see if we can find another one. That one's interesting now. So if it breaks and closes clearly above here, then you have to measure the distance to the top. It's 140%. But I don't know what it is and I don't know what it does. And everything I buy, even the crazy ones, have to be faster, smarter, cheaper, revolutionizing a sector and being used. And Doge is being used. Pengu doesn't fit the rules. It was a daft one. I think probably we bought it for a bit of a joke and we bought it because technically. Now here, so this was the 10th of July, the break of the top of the flag pattern. So even if you got in on the breakout, you would have been in here. Ethereum up 40%. And there's a lot of big money coming into Ethereum now. So if you read up about it, there's already ETFs on this, but there's big money piling into Ethereum. And Ethereum is the silver to Bitcoin's gold. Fartcoin, I have no idea what it does, why it exists, but that did the break the other day. I don't know if it was big enough. No, wouldn't make 35%. So if one thing, the most crucial thing about crypto, I buy and hold. I'm buying for the long term, but I've just shown you and explained multiple times over the last 5 years, whenever it doubles or more, I look to take the initial stake out, so then it's risk-free. And then I look to take some profit, and then I look to buy on the pullback. So what Marcel and I dabbled with the other week is this. This is breakoutprop.com. I blew up the first two accounts because I couldn't get my head around the leverage properly. I bought it again yesterday, I think it was, because I thought, well, if everything's going up, it can't be difficult. So I did start with it yesterday, and it's up $200. The target's 11,000. The one thing I would say with this is, as Marcel and I both found out, is you have to watch it, and you have to watch Bitcoin because everything seems to go in sync with Bitcoin. So yesterday I was in Litecoin at some point, Ethereum. I think I shorted Ethereum at one point as well. INJ and Pengu. I was in Pengu. But even Pengu, you had to watch what Bitcoin was doing on a shorter time frame. So for me, yes, it's in profit. It's too time consuming for me. But if you got the time, and the good thing with crypto is that it's a 24/7 market, although on a weekend it does often go to sleep a little bit. But it's a funded account. I think it was $100. It gives you access to 11 grand, and then if you can pass through that, you go on to a payment. So I think it was worth a dabble. There is one for stocks. If anybody's tried it, I would be interesting to know their experience. But as I am currently supposedly on holiday and haven't got a spare minute, I haven't had time to look at that properly. Any questions before we go over to Ashley on any subject? Morning, Stefan from Brazil, he says. And Tobias from sunny Sweden. Oh, sorry, it's Tobias I spoke to the other day. Yep. And Marcel in northern Germany. And Denver from South Africa. Casper gets smart contracts. That's 31st of August. Casper to the moon. That must be Marcel. Marcel, Marcel and I worked together, and I was a private client, but he made the mistake when he jumped into crypto. He just went into one thing, and he went into Casper. And at the moment, it's trying now to get back to where he bought in. But this is the thing about not just buying one or two. Don't pin your shirt on one or two. You need to spread them out a bit. And again, you can look at different categories, sectors like XRP for financial. Bitcoin's more now as a store of value. But have a look at what they're doing and why. And maybe for me, when my wife and I and Larry, bless him, started doing this, we had 20 in our portfolio. And it's the small stuff, it's this stuff that has the potential to make significant gains. So if you can find the ones that can make at least 35% and follow the rules I've just shown you. INJ yesterday I bought in here, or I must have done this a couple of days ago, but that was the target for that one as well. So this, for me, is if I was starting again, this is where I would be focusing, trying to find the ones that are broken and that have a real world reason to be used and are being used. I think that's it from me, unless anybody's got any questions. So, if anybody got any questions for me? One thing I do every day, just for those of you who are new, I use MetaTrader for my Forex charts analysis because I like clean charts, but I do use TradingView to look at all markets. And yesterday was weird again because the stock market was going up, gold was going up. So normally, if the stock market's going up, that's risk on, and crypto's going up, risk on, and gold would be risk off normally. So gold shouldn't have gone up, and gold was going up, and silver came back up to its all-time highs. And again, I've explained many times before and in the previous live webinar 2 weeks ago that silver has been massively shorted by the banks and the JP Morgans of this world for a long time. There ain't enough of it to cover the shorts that they've created. And physically, there is a massive demand for silver. And I wouldn't be surprised if silver goes to $100 in the next year or two, but I could be wrong. Other than that, the mining stocks I've shared with you before. Anything on here I wanted to show you? Oh, this was Berkshire Hathaway the other day. I was showing you last week. It just come down to the 200 and it broken, I think. And but what I was saying, if it breaks here, I would wait for the 55 EMA to break. And thus far, it is holding the weekly 55. If this goes, this could be an indicator of there's going to be a bigger crash pullback in US stocks. And I am getting twitchy. I've just shown you that we're 45% up for Andy, and my portfolio is more than double that. And I am thinking of trimming it or even take some options perhaps to hedge some of my positions. Other than that, I think that's it. I said to Ashley I would only take half an hour this week because I normally leave him no time, and I've done it. And I think, yep. Oh, the final one. So this was Zena. If you remember last week, I was saying it was down here. I had an alarm set and I was going to pull it. And thankfully, I didn't pull it because then, well, I'm cross division here, but from where I was going to pull it, it went up about 80%. So, and that actually is very relevant in terms of stops. So, because I had a good stop down here, I just scraped and got away with it. So, don't be too aggressive with your stops.